Okay, so today I just thought I'd make a quick video explaining a pretty popular and significant topic, how to basically stay anonymous online. So there are many ways to do this, I guess. I suppose Tor is the only option. A lot of people think VPNs do the job, and I'm just going to summarize that in one picture right here. This is what VPNs are. They don't actually work. They just route all your traffic through, I suppose, through a company-owned server, and that company will keep logs of where you're going. Alright, that's basically why VPNs are shit. Now, Tor, on the other hand, you can see is one, it's peer-to-peer, and usually these peers are across continents as well. And as you can, I'll leave a link to this full video in the description. I don't want to explain this much in this video. ComputerFile made a really good video on this. Basically, the message is the request, or where you want to go. That's your internet request. And it's passed around 3 different computers across the whole world, and only the final node can see the request and connect you to where you want to go, which is, let's say, the Silk Road or whatever. Lol, if you understand that joke, you'll know what it is. And the beauty of this is no one person has all the information. They just know what's coming to them and where to go next. And no one person can also see all the information except the last node. Now, obviously, you can have like a malicious node at the end, which technically can compromise you. But basically, as far as anonymity goes, this is about the best you can get. Now, obviously, you can pair this with proxy chains, which is what a lot of people do. But roughly, this is how it works. And okay, now I'll start talking about how to actually install this thing. So the first thing you can do is go to the website. I'll leave this link in the description as well. And you can just install the thing. Okay, you'll get a zip file or a tar.xz, which is basically a zip file. And once you unzip it, you basically get this. Now you see this icon, it's just an icon. You just double click it and then it starts up. And then you say connect. Now you can configure it, but generally you say connect. And then you wait a little bit, and then you can go to this website called Check Tor, and it'll basically tell you if you're connected to Tor or not. Now, if I do it normally, it'll say I'm not. So if I run curl... Okay, so if I run this command, you'll see that it returns nothing, which means my shell is not connected to Tor. If I go to the website on the Google, and it says, sorry, you're not connected to Tor. Okay, so after you install that, you'll get something like this. And over here, you can again go to the Check Tor, and you press enter. And basically this is like the easy quote-unquote way of doing it. You just download some pre-configured browser and you just go to the website and okay, there you go. Your IP address appears to be this. Now check your own IP address. There are like 2 commands you can use. You can use curl space ifconf.me, or I think it's IP8. And okay, so you can, that's my current IP address. This is the Tor IP address. You can see how it's different. All right, so this is the easier one. Now I'll show how to get it set up on the shell so you can actually do more complicated stuff with it. Okay, so first what you'll need to do is you'll need to install 3 packages on whatever Linux distribution you are. You'll have to install Tor, you'll have to install Nix, GNU, Netcat, and Socat. The other tools are just useful. I don't think you'll actually need to install them, but just have them. So once you install all of these with whatever Linux distro you're using, you'll need to enable tor.service. Now, Tor is basically a service which runs on a port, usually port 9050. And what you can do is you can route things through this port, if you will, like a shell or something like a shell or the Firefox browser, and you will basically be able to use the Tor network. So let's figure out how to configure this thing. So first of all, you'll basically need to edit this thing called torrc. Now, to edit it, it's in the etc directory, so you cannot edit it normally. So what you have to do is you have to use sudo edit. Sudo edit is a really useful tool where you can edit things by using your default text editor. So use sudo edit, don't use sudo vim, tor, whatever. That's just a quick tip. And you'll have to add these lines. Now, I'll put all these lines in the description, and I don't want to explain what they do too much, but basically these lines set up some kind of basic protection for your control port. Now, the control port is where you can basically change the configuration of Tor. Examples would be things like you can change the amount of nodes you're using, whether or not you're using a bridge, things like that. The DataDirectoryGroupReadable one basically allows users in the group Tor to read it. The CookieAuthentication is just another security measure. None of this will really slow you down. Just have this done in. Now, the HashedControlPassword, to get that, what you'll need to do is you'll need to run TOR hash password, and then you put the password here. I just happen to keep mine internet. and you press enter, and then you copy that hash into the etc thing I showed you just back there, which is this. Okay, now once you do that, and once you have all these lines, you're basically almost ready to go. So again, Tor is just a service. You download the service, you enable the service. I'm pretty sure you guys know how to do that. It's basically systemd service. You just do sudo systemd-ctl enable Tor service. Mine's already enabled. Or you can do enable -- now. That basically, I think that does enable and start in the same line. So that's an easier thing you can use. And okay, now let's actually get into some useful commands you'll probably want to know. So the first useful command you'll want to know is this one. This will give the permissions of the two files you made in octal format. You should see the numbers 750 and 660. This basically means your permissions are set correctly. And another thing you'll have to do is you'll have to add yourself to the group TOR. And to do that, you'll have to do TOR and your username. Run this command and you'll have a new group called TOR, and you'll be in that group, which will give you permissions to the files I said earlier. And after you did all that, you'll basically have to run this thing. You'll basically have to run this command. Now what this command does is it checks if the control port is set up properly. And if you get this output, it means it's good to go. And now after all this, to basically check if we have our proxy set up, we can use this command. Okay, now you can see this command is a little different from the last curl command. Basically what this does is this puts it through the SOCKS5 Tor proxy, which is set on our local host. 127.0.1 is basically means localhost. It's a loopback address for the device to communicate with itself. And then you can see we are using port 9050. Okay, so if I press enter here, I should get an output. Okay, so this output basically means I configured my proxy correctly. Now, how do I use this proxy? Okay, so let's open up Firefox here. And basically what you need to do is you'll need to go to the settings. I don't know how to do this GUI shit. Okay, and then I think you scroll all the way down, and then you click on network settings. It's just the first one, general. And okay, you can see here, I put localhost, I put SOCKS v5, and I put port 9050. Now on Firefox, let's go to checktorproject.com and see what happens. It's going to be slower. You can see we're probably connected because you can see a different language here. Okay, so this basically, okay, let's just put it in English. Now this basically means we're connected. All right, and I already showed you this through the terminal. Now, another interesting question people would ask is, okay, we can configure browsers to use it. Probably configure popcorn time to use it as well. Just let me quickly show you. I think you just go to some kind of settings. You go to the settings, and then you scroll down. Yeah, this is proxy server. So over here, you'll put one. There you go. They already put in an example. 127.0.0.1 9050. That is basically where people most commonly configure Tor. If you put that here, your popcorn time will be using Tor as well. Whatever application you want to use will usually have their own kind of setting to configure the proxy. Basically, you have to do it through that number I showed you, 127.0.0.1 9050. All right, so now how can we actually use Tor through our shell? Because let's say you're doing penetration testing on some website and you do not want your identity known because you're using it through the shell. Like I said, if I do curl-s htt check Tor on this, it does not work. Now, in order to do that, what we'll have to do is install this other utility called TorSocks. And what you do is basically you launch a shell through TorSocks. And then we run that command again, and you'll notice that it works. Now if I press exit, I exit out of that shell, and then if I press exit again, the whole window closes. You can also do things like TorSocks alacrity, and then it'll spawn a new window, but then if you close it, both of it closes. Okay, so that's roughly how you get Tor working, and you can have it working in the shell. I'll leave all the commands I've used in the description, and yeah, stay anonymous, or at least as much as you can. Thanks for watching. Bye.